It is really difficult today with all of the things going on with technology and all the things going on with AI and all the things going on economically to fall into a trap of believing things that are just not true. Just because they're doing it doesn't mean you have to do it. They're going to be afraid of what the AI will do. Is it going to take our job? You want to really get yourself to think a little bit bigger. What about 2 generations from now? Hey, my friend, welcome to the MindShift podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you for being here. I'm your host, Darrell Evans. Recent conversations with a number of entrepreneurs and business owners, some that I'm in a coaching or agency relationship with, others that are thinking about starting a business or who are running a business, but they're not yet engaged with our agency or in our coaching program. Some common themes have been coming up recently, and I found myself repeating myself over and over again. So I thought this will be a good topic for an episode here on the podcast. So this episode is for you today. If you are a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur who is maybe just getting started, this is definitely for someone who is actively engaged in doing business currently, which means your business is making sales. Maybe you're 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, maybe you're just 6 months or a year in. But you want to be in business. And if you're not in business today, there are going to be some mind shifts here that I think would apply to you in your career, that could apply to you in life. And some of you listening are considering starting a business, and you're underselling yourself. And if you want to hang around and listen to this, great. But this specific recording today is really speaking to those of you who are actively engaged in growing your business right now. And I want to address 5 big ideas. Looking out in the marketplace, it is very easy to get caught up in believing things that are false for you, but maybe true for someone else. I usually look at this as a situation where we are comparing ourselves to a competitor. We're comparing ourselves to someone we saw on Instagram or TikTok. We're comparing ourselves to someone else doing something that might be working well for them, but you believe that it's not going to work for you, or you believe that because they're doing it, you should do it. Okay. It is really difficult today with all of the things going on with technology and all the things going on with AI and all the things going on economically to fall into a trap of believing things that are just not true. Let me give you an example. I was talking to one of the entrepreneurs, one of the business owners, and they were talking about the need to start posting on TikTok. And that's because they had gone to a conference or a webinar and they saw some of their other competitors doing that. Well, here's one of the challenges with the assumption that because they're doing it, you need to do it. And the fact is, we don't know how well that process or that strategy or that tactic is actually working for them. Just because they're doing it doesn't mean you have to do it, right? So believing something is true when it's actually false for you. And the way you're going to know that, and my encouragement for you, is to really understand what your business plan, what your business strategy looks like, right? So often as entrepreneurs, we get caught up in changing our plan and changing our path because we saw something else. We call it bright, shiny object syndrome, right? We got to be very careful. Right now, it's easy with the latest AI tool to get caught up in what we call chasing squirrels, right? We've got to be careful though when we see things, not to just assume that is true or that we actually need to pivot to it because someone else is doing it. So my encouragement for you is don't believe certain things, as I like to say, don't believe that certain things are gospel truth for you, even if someone else is finding massive success with it. I'm going to take you back to one more example. And it was 20 something years ago. And I remember in the real estate industry in my 20s, this is probably 30 years ago now, but I remember getting my real estate license in my early 20s when I was in college. And I remember everyone being taught to do cold calling. Everyone was being taught to do cold calling. That was the thing to do, right? Number one, you can get massive leverage on your time, all this other stuff, right? But every time I made a call, and I did plenty of them, don't get me wrong, I did plenty of cold calls. But as the time went on, there was not just personal resistance, but it was probably the earliest days when I started to really understand the empathy of the person on the other side, really understanding what the person was going through. So I chose to go down a path to invite myself into their world a different way. It happened to be for me direct mail, and through classified advertising, which means I attracted people who had the problem versus me doing everything everybody else was doing. Okay. So just because everybody else was doing it didn't make those things true for me. Sure, it was a viable strategy, but I chose to do something else. The bottom line is be clear and be committed to your plan of action and work your plan. Item number two. Item number two is one that I understand is confusing sales with marketing. Now, this is a very big topic and they live in two different disciplines, but confusing sales with marketing and vice versa, confusing marketing with sales. I often talk, and again, some of these topics have come up recently where we were talking about one or the other not working, sales not working, or their marketing wasn't working, and almost like they live in a silo, right? The example was this one company was saying our sales are not performing as they were in previous time periods. And is that this? Is it that? Is it economics? Is it the season? Is it inflation? Is it all of these things? And they pointed to their marketing as being the problem. Well, there's an easy way to figure out if marketing has something to do with it, but the two disciplines are different. Marketing is about bringing awareness to your product or service to a person that could be interested, or an audience that could be interested in your product or service now or in the future. The opportunity of sales is engaging with the person who has openly invited themselves into your world to solve the problem, right? So, for example, if I'm a runner and I buy Adidas shoes, there's a specific pair that I wear with Adidas. Adidas sending me an email with a coupon for 25% off is marketing. When I walk in the store and am greeted by a salesperson and they take me to the pair of shoes and engage with me at that moment in time and escort me to the counter, that is sales. Okay. I know this sounds maybe basic, but we got to be careful not to confuse the disciplines of business growth. The other opposite end of that spectrum is to look at marketing and think your marketing is broken when maybe there's a sales problem, right? So often we hear, and I laugh because I've been doing this for so long. We've had the agency for over, right around 13 and a half, almost 14 years. And I think about how marketing teams get blamed for bad leads in sales, and salespeople will often sometimes say, well, the marketing of the leads are not great. Then the marketing folks will say, well, the salespeople don't know how to close the good leads that I'm providing. Really, it's a conundrum in the world of business. Always has been, almost always will be. We always talk about sales and marketing alignment. That's really what we're talking about, is how do we make sure that things are working together? But the goal that is holding a lot of small businesses back, a lot of small business owners back, is not clearly understanding your sales or conversion mechanism with your marketing or acquisition of leads mechanism. They have two different jobs, including if you're e-commerce. So maybe you're saying, oh, well, I sell something e-commerce and they're going to buy on the website. True, fair, great. However, there's two different components. Your marketing generally won't convert the sale. Your marketing will bring them to the point of sale, and then your sales messaging must move them across the finish line. And if you've been running a business for a while, I bet you understand this. But again, these are some topics that came out of some conversations and some consultations recently. And I said, there's something going on here. For example, let me use an example. Client running Facebook ads, right? They're running Facebook ads and they're getting all sorts of leads through the Facebook ads, but no one's buying, no one's checking out. And this happens to be a program that they can buy online. Well, the problem is not the marketing. The problem is the sales mechanism on the back end, right? So too often we think, oh, well, if we run a good ad and we do the right creative and we set the campaign up and we get the clicks and we get the leads and they fill out the form and they go to the email auto system, that they automatically should go to the checkout cart. No, you have to invite them appropriately to go to the checkout cart, right? And maybe in your business, that's a consultation. Maybe in your business, that's a strategy session. Maybe in your business, that's getting a quote, whatever that might look like for you. The bottom line is don't confuse sales and marketing. They are two different disciplines and they are two different processes. And let's be clear, you don't have to have 1,000 marketing mechanisms and you don't have to have 1,000 sales mechanisms. You just need one well-oiled machine on both sides. Number 3, one of the other topics that came up, and this is just, in today's age of AI specifically, it is imperative that we do not make the mistake of not using today's technology, not leveraging today's technology. I had 3 entrepreneurs tell me they have yet to start playing with Chat GPT. It is August of 2024 at the time of recording this. Chat GPT has been out since October, November of 2022. Not to mention the 4,000+ AI tools that have been built on either ChatGPT or other large language models, Claude, Gemini, any of these other tools. It is you are like sitting in oncoming traffic on the freeway about to get run over if you're not leveraging today's technology. Listen, just a few years ago, we were talking about marketing automation. We were talking about automated emails. And still to this day, I am working with great companies, great businesses, been around for a while, doing good money, and they have no automated sequences. They have no automated emails. They're not leveraging a CRM. They're not leveraging marketing automation and platforms like landing pages, even. I'll go to their websites and I still see basic websites with a contact us page. I mean, those were things we were harping on 3 to 5 to 7, 8, 10 years ago. And now we're in this world of AI when essentially you have a free assistant, a free employee, albeit a junior employee, because it's not going to be perfect, but you have a free tool which acts like an assistant, an employee, a researcher, a copy. It can be anything you want. And I'm listening to people saying, I haven't even really played with it. They didn't say they didn't buy the $20 pro plan. They're like, no, I haven't even played with it. What are you waiting on? You have got to put time in. Listen, in 2022, December, I was supposed to take a week off. We closed our office, whatever the case was. I was planning on taking some downtime, but unfortunately, some news came out about Chat GPT, and it was validated by a number of my colleagues. And I'm like, oh, it's time to pay attention because this is a game changer. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't a fad. This is for real. Let me give you an example. On a document sitting right here to my left, I began as I started using ChatGPT back in 2022, December, and probably through the first quarter of 2023, I found 37 real use cases for things that I do in my ordinary day to day responsibilities, not just as an owner and a founder, not just as a marketing strategist, but literally all the way through things that I work on in my day to day, week to week life as a business owner, right? 37. I've got a list of them sitting right here to my left, and I keep adding to them every time I find a new discovery. Why is this so important? Well, in today's world, everyone wants to be afraid of what the tech will do. Everyone wants to be afraid of what the AI will do. Is it going to take our job? Is it going to da 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 da? It likely is. There's no getting around that, right? It is an infrastructure. It is a technology that will replace things that are being done manually by people. But at the same time, it's no different than other technologies that have come along over the last 100 to 200 years. Always things move forward. We are always moving forward. We're never moving backwards, right? We years ago weren't carrying smartphones. Guess what that did? It put out of commission analog, right? We are using GPS. Guess what that did? It put a hurting on phone books and picking up, sorry, not phone books, but maps. We used to pick up maps. right? Things evolve, we change. Your industry, your position, your skill set is probably being challenged right now. And if you're not paying attention to it right now, you should be. And as a business owner, you need to be taking a hard look at how you can leverage today's technology, whether that's marketing tools, whether that's the AI built into Facebook or Google or email or your CRM or any of the other tools. We're not going to go down a tools list here today, but at the very least, you owe it to yourself as an owner. You owe it to your team to figure out where AI is going to play in your world. And I get it. That's a big conversation, but you're the leader. You're the leader. You're in charge. You can't put your head in the sand, right? They need you to lead. And if that means you don't know, you bring the right who in to help figure it out. Okay. And you owe it to your customers. Those are the three people that we serve as business owners. We serve the customer, we serve our team, and ultimately, we serve ourselves as business owners and founders and principals of the organization. You cannot take what's happening right now in the speed in which it's happening. And I get it, it's overwhelming. I get it, it's moving fast. It just means you've got to have more, you got to be more plugged in to the people that are close to the information so they can break it down for you very simply, so it's digestible, so that you can move forward with an executable plan. Okay. The bottom line is this tech now is moving at a speed that is beyond anything we've ever seen. And there is a collision of technology happening right now between autonomous vehicles and between blockchain and between quick crypto and between AI. And I mean, you name it, there's a collision of technologies happening right now. You have to get dialed in. That's the bottom line. Item number 4. Many of you are just doing way too much to try to grow your businesses. You're doing way too much. Many of you who've been listening to this podcast for a while have heard me talk about the lean marketing plan, and you've maybe heard me talk about minimum viable campaigns and everyone's heard of the lean startup and minimal viable products, MVPs. I really honestly believe that to back up what I just said about how things are moving so fast, we constantly have to keep coming back to our MVP. What is our MVP? What is our minimum viable person who should work in our company? What is our minimum viable product we should put in the market? What is our minimum viable campaign that we should always have on? What is our minimum viable buyer persona who we should target our marketing to and target our customer acquisition around? What is our minimum viable technology so that we don't have to worry about having a tech stack that has 8,000 pieces to it? One of the owners I was talking to was talking about this tech and that tech and the other tech. And again, going a little too far on what I was describing on point number 3, but they were doing too much, right? They're doing too much, right? I remember when I first got started, and I think this is something that when we get along, we're doing millions of dollars in revenue top line, maybe 8 figures in top line. Sometimes we think we have to do way more than we have to. And I'm here to tell you that success is usually less, it's usually doing less better over time. It's doing less better over time. It's not coming up with 5 new lead magnets for your website. It's not coming up with 5 new divisions in your company. It's not usually 5 more employees on your team, unless, of course, you're scaling. It's generally not more, it's generally less. A few episodes back, I talked about the lies that productivity gurus talk about. And what I talk about there is your not to do list, right? Your not to do list that plays in here, right? What should we not be doing? We need to have filters so that we can put things through the filters so that it doesn't make it into the do list. It doesn't make it into our atmosphere, at least not right now. Maybe it's a someday maybe category. I'll link up that podcast episode so you can go take a look at that. But we're sometimes just doing too much. I was talking to one of these entrepreneurs, one of these business owners, And we started a project about 11 months ago. There was a part of the project that we needed to execute on to help with. And then we're about 11 months later and we're reconnecting. And there were so many things that should have been done by now, but there were so many other things going on. We just lost focus. The person lost focus. When I find myself doing this, by the way, I'm not preaching to you. I'm sharing with you things that I've obviously made mistakes on in the past as well. But for example, when I find myself getting overwhelmed, I immediately pump the brakes and I say, you know what? I'm doing too much here, right? We all have big ideas. We all have visions. We all have aspirations. We all want to see things happen in a major way. But sometimes we're just doing too much. And sometimes we're stuck in the frame, in the picture frame, so we can't see that we're the ones doing too much. And so, this idea of simplifying, right? I have a process that we run through strategically with clients, and that is we scale down to scale up. We scale down, which means we do less. We get more focused. We get rid of the fluff so we can find the things that are working today so we can take things to the next level. I'm thinking about a case study right now, which I'll share with you at some other point in the future. One of our clients has, seven figure, multiple seven figure business. And when we came in, rather than doing more, we did less and have literally doubled the lead flow into this business. And by the way, we're not talking about ebooks and white papers. We're talking about sales leads. We're talking about people wanting to do business with them. We didn't, we changed the budget marginally. We did, I can tell you all sorts of things we didn't do. I mean, I'll bring the case study up at another point. The point is, oftentimes success is on the other side, which is this is the bottom line. Success is on the other side of doing less, better, more often, and for a longer period of time. I hope that sets in with you. And last but not least, is really just one dealing with the mind. It's just dealing with the mind. And that is thinking way too small, way too small, way too small. Right? We've all been guilty of it. Depends on where you've come from, what your background was. I remember so many times that I set goals and they were attainable and they were doable. They would have meant something to me, but I still undersold myself on what that goal could really be, what my accomplishment could really be, what I was capable of. And so often when we think about business today, when we think about growth today, so many of us are thinking about survival. So many of us are just thinking about making it to the next payday, the next pay period, the next year, and we're thinking way too small. Right now, with everything happening right now, I'm as excited as I've ever been about entrepreneurs in business today, no matter what stage you are. You might be a startup founder if you're listening to this. You might have just gotten started. You might be a 25-year career person and you did something one way as an entrepreneur and now you're pivoting. Maybe you were doing business in a local brick and mortar shop and now you transitioned to business online. Maybe you were a service provider and now you're an e-commerce company. I've never been more excited about the entrepreneurial spirit today in the world. And I'm telling you right now, don't undersell yourself. Don't think too small. There's a story, a lot of people I've been talking to over the years talk about, aiming for the moon. Because if you aim for the moon and miss, you'll still be amongst the stars. That stuff sounds really good. That sounds really good, right? But what I'm really interested in is this idea of stretching ourselves beyond the thing that's already reachable. And I know sometimes you don't really know for sure if the goal that you're reaching for is you're able to get to because maybe you haven't done it before. I was talking with one of my clients and we were talking about their growth goals. And the growth number I almost was like, that surely can't be it, right? Because when we work with clients, I mean, we're trying to help them grow significant revenue, 2x, 3x, 4x, whatever they're doing. And it was just seemingly like a small goal. I'm thinking, well, you don't really need to change much to reach that goal. Like that's incremental growth and you'll be there, right? And it isn't so much that you have to grow exponentially because there can be some challenges with that. But I think the encouragement right now is when you're thinking about your goals and you're thinking about where you're headed with your business, let's expand the possibilities. Let's expand the potential. Let's expand what could be our story, not somebody else's story, right? Now, a lot of us right now, we're so caught up on some of the biggest name entrepreneurs in the world today. I'm not saying don't pay attention to them. That is actually exactly what I'm saying. Do me a favor, take down all of the messaging from these mega celebrities, these mega entrepreneurs, these mega people who you love to be inspired by, but unfortunately, you compare yourself so far below them because you can't resonate with where they are today. Maybe they started in a similar place, but you can't resonate with where they are today. I got to give it to a friend of mine who said to me, sometimes you have to turn off the voices of other people's thinking so that you can hear the voice of your own thinking. And it was a very interesting concept to me. And it was what she was saying was, if you get too caught up in what everyone else is selling you, on everyone else's dream, on everyone else's success, and on everyone else's story, you sometimes will forget your own. And you will think, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do what they're doing. Oh, but, and this isn't about comparing. I said that earlier. But what I find lately is we are thinking too small. I can attest. I've done it so many times where the goal might have seemed really big for someone else. But when I look back, I'm thinking, that's all we did. And I mean, and I didn't even feel like we had to do much to get to that goal. That's when I started thinking, okay, I'm not thinking big enough. I'm not thinking strong enough. I'm not thinking with enough confidence. And we all go through these cycles. It's okay if you go through those cycles, right? Sometimes you have a setback. We talk about it here. You have a breakdown and you're trying to go through a breakthrough. So you're being a little cautious. I get it. Sometimes you're going from point of inspiration to realization, and maybe you don't exactly know how to do that. You don't know what that bridge is going to look like. So you're being a little cautious. I get that too. But I will tell you, another friend of mine said something that just, it, when she said it, it didn't really resonate until I was thinking about it later. And I made a comment about being complacent or feeling complacent. And this is, by the way, me getting some coaching, not one of the scenarios that led me to today's show. But I think I'll finish with this. And the concept was, if you feel like you're not as inspired as you used to be, identify a goal that has nothing to do with you, but has to do with impacting two generations away from you, two generations beyond you. And then sit down and ponder, how would you act? How would you behave? How would you plan? How would you set your intentions if you were doing it for them? And it didn't hit me at first. It was puzzling. It was like, huh, it was like one of those, oh, you digested it, but I never forgot it. I never forgot. I wrote it down, in fact, in my notes. And then and then I got it one day and I was like, huh, interesting. Don't plan for now. It's too small because most of us can get to a place where we're good, right? You can get to a place where you're good. You can get to a place where you're successful. You get to a place where you're making money. You get to a place where you got the investments. You get the houses, da da da. You get the cars. You get the stuff. You get you get the dining. You get the trips. You get all the stuff. Sometimes you get there and you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. But then you can get that complacency that sets in. And it was like, oh no no. If you want to really get yourself to think a little bit bigger, what about 2 generations from now? What if you were planning for their success? What if you were planning for their legacy? What if you were planning for their college? What if you were planning? And it's just a different energy. Doesn't mean go work hard and do all this crazy stuff. It just means your thinking changes. Bottom line, I want to leave you with is, don't think too small in your business today. There has never been, in my opinion, and I've been an entrepreneur now for over 30 years, there's never been a better time. And it is, again, a lot of stuff going on right now. Don't think too small. The first thing I said was, don't believe things that are true for someone else as true for you, or don't believe things that are false, but maybe true for someone else. Okay. Number 2, don't confuse sales and marketing. These are 2 different processes, 2 different disciplines. There are real independent issues going on with each one. Don't confuse them if one or the other is not working. Number 3, be sure to be leveraging today's technology. You've got to set some time aside. You got to put it on your calendar. Okay. Number 4, don't do too much. If you're right now, you're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're worked out, you're stressed, you're doing too much. And you've got to figure out, number 1, who else needs to be in your world to minimize that, but you can probably do a lot more with a lot less over a longer period of time. And then the last thing is, don't think small, right? Don't think small. Expand your thinking, expand your awareness, expand your goals, expand your vision. It don't cost a doggone thing for you to write down something that's bigger, for you to write down something that's a bigger vision, that's a bigger outcome, that's a bigger payday, that's a bigger impact, right? And these 5 ideas really have been stewing over the last I don't know, 20 or 30 days in some meetings, and I made some notes about this stuff, and I said, you know what, maybe you'd like to hear about that today. Anyway, I hope today inspired you in some kind of way. I hope one of these landed with you today. If you're a business owner, there's never been a bigger opportunity, better opportunity. We are shifting, don't get it wrong. There's a lot of things moving and shaking, but I'm pulling for you. That's what this show is all about. The MindShift podcast, we're here to really help you shift your mind and shift your results. No matter where you are, journey from inspiration to realization, or when life's knocking you down, from breakdown to breakthrough. I'd encourage you that if today resonated with you, share it with a friend, hit the follow and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And I'll see you again on another episode of the MindShift podcast. Take care. Hit the subscribe button so you can become a part of the MindShift community. We'll help you shift your mind so you can shift your results.